Welcome back to lesson 4, an exciting trip. Let's read the article and then answer the question, why is Tim finding this trip exciting? An engineer in Australia. It says, I have just received a letter from my brother. Received means to get something, when we're given something. He is in Australia. He has been there for 6 months. Tim is an engineer. He is working for a big firm, and he has already visited a great number of different places. Firm is a company or someone you're working for. We call a company we're working for a firm. And different means not the same. So different is not the same. He has just bought an Australian car and has gone to Alice Springs, a small town in the center of Australia. Center means in the middle. My nose is in the middle of my face, in the middle, in the center. He will soon visit Darwin. From there, he will fly to Perth. My brother has never been abroad before. Abroad means to go to a different country. So he's finding this trip very exciting. Exciting means something that's very, very, when we find something very eager, when we're very eager to do something. Exciting. Causing great eagerness or enthusiasm. So let's read the text again. I have just been given a letter from my brother, Tim. He is in Australia. He has been there for 6 months. Tim is an engineer. He is working for a big firm or company, and he has already visited a great number of different places in Australia. So he has visited places that are not the same. He has just bought an Australian car and has gone to Alice Springs, a small town in the center of Australia, in the middle of Australia. He will soon visit Darwin. From there, he will fly to Perth. My brother has never been abroad before. My brother has never been to a different country before. So he is finding this trip very exciting. He is finding this trip very enthusiastic. Now let's answer the question, why is Tim finding this trip exciting? Well, it says here that my brother has never been abroad before. So he is finding this trip very exciting. So his brother is finding the trip very exciting because he has never been to a different country before. Now let's answer some questions to what we've just read. Number 1, what has the writer just received from his brother Tim? He has just received a letter from his brother Tim. Number 2, is Tim an engineer or is he a doctor? Tim is an engineer. How long has he been in Australia? How long has he been in Australia? He has been in Australia for 6 months. Has he already visited many places? Well, it says here, he has already visited a great number of different places in Australia. So the answer is, yes, he's already visited a great number of places. Number 5, where is he now? Where is he now? It says he will soon visit Darwin. From there, he has just bought an Australian car and has gone to Alice Springs. So he has already been to Alice Springs, a small town in the center of Australia. He will soon visit Darwin, and from there he will fly to Perth. So now he is in Australia. Has Tim ever been abroad before or not? Nope. It says here, my brother has never been abroad before. Number 7, is he enjoying his trip very much or not? Well, since he has never been abroad before, he is finding this trip very exciting. So he is finding this trip very exciting. He's enjoying it a lot. What has happened? What has happened? Let's read these sentences and pay attention to the words in italics. It says, I have just received a letter from my brother. He has already visited a great number of different places. He has been there for 6 months. My brother has never been abroad before. He has retired now. Have you ever been to Australia? Have you read any good books lately? I haven't been very successful so far. The train has not arrived yet. Let's write these sentences again and put the words in parentheses in the right place. Number 1, I have had breakfast. The word just. I have just had breakfast. Number 2, he has been in prison for 6 months. We would leave 6 months at the end of the sentence. He has been in prison for 6 months. We don't change this around. Number 3, the police have not caught the thief yet. We would leave the word yet at the end of the sentence, and it would read, the police have not caught the thief yet. The word already. You have asked that question 3 times. There are 2 places we can put this. We can say, you have already asked that question 3 times, or we can say, you have asked that question 3 times already, and leave it at the end of the sentence. Number 5, the word ever. Have you been to Switzerland? The word ever would be here. Have you ever been to Switzerland? Number 6, the word never. I have been to Switzerland. The word never would be here. I have never been to Switzerland. Number 7, so far. He is a wonderful runner. He has broken 2 records. Well, the words so far we will keep at the end of the sentence, and it will read, he is a wonderful runner. He has broken 2 records so far. The word lately. I haven't seen George. Here, the word lately would remain at the end of the sentence. I haven't seen George lately. Or we can put it at the beginning of the sentence and say, lately, I haven't seen George. Let's correct the form of the verbs in the parentheses and write the correct form. It says, I have just received a letter from my brother. Tim, he is in Australia. He has been there for 6 months. Tim is an engineer. He is working for a big firm, and he already has visited a great number of different places in Australia. He just bought an Australian car and has gone to Alice Springs. My brother never has been abroad before, so he's finding this trip very exciting. If I had never been abroad before, I think I would find the trip very exciting too. How about you? Section C. What is happening? What has happened? Well, let's read these two statements. The first says, the bell is ringing. That's what's happening now. The bell is ringing now. But what has happened? The bell has just rung. That's what had happened. So let's complete these sentences. The first ones have been done for us, what is happening. But we're going to fill in what has happened. Number 1 says, he is leaving the house. He is leaving the house. What has happened is he has just left the house. Number 2, he is having breakfast. He has just had breakfast. Number 3, she is writing a letter. She has just written a letter. Number 4, my sister is turning on the radio. My sister has just turned on the radio. Number 5, my mother is making the bed. My mother has just made the bed. Number 6, she is buying a new hat. She has just bought a new hat. We're going to do the same thing in section D. The first section is telling us what is happening. He is still washing the dishes. He's still doing it now. We're going to put in what has already happened. So number 1 says he is still washing the dishes. He hasn't finished washing the dishes. So we're going to say what they haven't done, what they are doing, and what they haven't done. Number 2, she is still making the beds. She hasn't finished making the beds. Number 3, he is still combing his hair. He hasn't finished combing his hair. Number 4, she is still sweeping the carpet. She hasn't finished sweeping the carpet. Number 5, we are still reading Macbeth. We haven't finished reading Macbeth. Section E. Let's read these statements, or these two sentences. The first one says, I've already had lunch. And the second one says, have you had lunch yet? So the first one is a statement. It's telling us something. It's telling us that they've already had lunch. And the second question is a question. It's asking, have they had lunch yet? So we're going to do the same thing here. The first one is the statement. It's telling us something. But what we're going to do is put in a question and ask a question to this statement. Number 1 says, I've already seen the new play at the Globe. Have you already seen the new play at the Globe? I've already taken my holidays. Have you already taken your holidays? I've already read this book. Have you already read this book? I've already done my homework. Have you already done your homework? I've already finished my work. Have you already finished your work? So these are questions to ask people. Here we're going to choose the correct words in the following sentence. 2 words people confuse is receive and take. I have just received a letter from my brother. Remember, receive means to be given something. And take means when someone has taken my pen. Someone has grabbed hold of my pen. So we're going to choose the correct words in these sentences. Number 1, yesterday I took or received a present from my Aunt Jane. Yesterday I received a present from my Aunt Jane. Number 2, have you received a letter from him yet? I took the letter with me. Number 4, he has taken some flowers to her. And number 5, why did you take this book off the shelf? Multiple choice questions. Number 1, only one of these statements is true. Let's decide which one. The writer has been in Australia for 6 months. No. Tim is working for a big firm as an engineer. Tim has been in Darwin for 6 months. It's the first time Tim has ever been to another country. Yes, this is the first time Tim has ever been to another country. Number 3, Tim is in Australia. He went to Australia 6 months ago. Tim is in Australia. How long has he been there? Tim has been in Australia for 6 months. His brother hasn't seen him since January. He has just bought an Australian car. He bought one a short time ago. He has just gone to Alice Springs. He has never been there before. Number 8, Tim is working for a big firm. He is working for a big company. He has visited a great number of different places. He hasn't stayed in the same place. Alice Springs is a small town. A town is usually bigger than a village, but smaller than a city. He will soon visit Darwin. He will visit Darwin shortly. He will fly to Perth. He will go there by air. This is the end of our lesson for today. When we have our next lesson, lesson 5, we're going to begin reading No Wrong Numbers. So, this is Tammy saying bye, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson.